What's going on, everybody? Welcome, welcome. Happy New Year. Tuesday night, we're gonna get it going. If you guys were on the call Sunday, I uh, I, I pretty much said that I was gonna be taking it easy this week. It's a new year, new week, new month, NFP week, U.S. Whatever you want to call it, election outcome day is tomorrow. Um, so I'm going into this week kind of just enjoying the new year, and I will, obviously I'll take trades as they come. I did take a trade yesterday, took a trade today, but we do have some setups that I'm looking at are pretty good. I think oh yeah, all right, Victor, you're on, bro. Hey, so today was a really rough day for me. My computer, I had it dismantled. I was trying to update the RAM on my iMac, and yeah, it was, internet was down, so it was one of those days for me today. But I'll go over some of the pairs I'm looking at. Victor, if you got stuff that I don't go over, we'll talk about it at the end, but we'll go through it. The let's get into it, man. Uh PC for the win. Nah, man, I can't take. I haven't been on a PC in probably 15 years, man. That's all. My first MacBook was probably when I was in college, back in like 2000. So yeah, it's a shoot. It's been longer than 15 years, I guess. All right, man, let's do it. Let's do it. So I'm gonna try and keep up with the chat, but no promises, man. Do you have MT4 on on the Mac? So I use the web-based one, like through your broker. That's the one I use. Like you could use Parallels, but that's just getting crazy. The only thing I use MT4 for is just managing the trade. I'll put a red line on the candle I want to mark off on my broker, and that's about it. Like I don't mark it up or chart it or anything. So all right, we'll go get into it. We'll go over it. I on Sunday I gave a shout out to whoever the heck threw AUDJPY in the Discord last week. AUDJPY definitely paid me a nice little end of the year bonus. Um, I haven't looked at AUDJPY today. I would imagine. Look at that, man. Wow. Well, all right. So I made a new high. QRU sounds good. All right. We'll come back to AUDJPY. I'll tell you what. I'm looking for buys on AUDJPY. We are super bullish on this thing. We just made a new high. And just to recap, like this is where we bought last week. There was a really nice reaccumulation in here. First entry ended up hitting break even off this one, but second entry came in real nice with a 3.5 pip stop. And I ended up taking profits up here at 79.80. But it did come in for a nice little pullback, and now it's made a new high. So we'll come back to it. I'll take a look at AUDJPY. So CADJ, let's talk about CADJ. All right. Now what I am looking at for CADJ is we have, from the weekly standpoint, nothing has changed. All right. We are gunning for this weekly candle. Alrighty. Whether or not this is going to hold or not, I'm not here to predict the market. I'm just here to trade it. So my goal is to take this sucker on up to this weekly candle. And ever since we got a break of structure on the H4 back in the end of November, it's been nothing but buys for me. All right. Can you show how to identify supply and demand? Sure. Look for distributions. Those are supply points. Look for accumulations. Those are demand. That's the easiest way to tell you. All right. If you find a schematic, that's a clear supplier demand area. All right. Oh, hold on. To add insult to injury, I broke my iPhone, and I've been trying. I got a new one today, and I've been trying to restore this stupid thing, and it's just not working. So, yeah. Anyway, so weekly standpoint, that's what we're looking at now. On a daily, right? On a daily, I don't have it marked up, but you should see the distribution starting to happen here. All right. We do have potentially a buying climax sitting right here, or automatic rally, which essentially creates our trading zone. All right. We come in for a secondary test right up here. And then we have an upthrust. All right. This is ultimately pretty close to 50% of our trading range. So at this point, I would like to take price up for a UTAD into this weekly candle. Wait for the break of structure. If I can catch a small little distribution in here somewhere, we'll take it down, because if you follow how CADJPY flies, when she sells off pretty quick, and when she buys, she literally takes every flight of stairs up. So, all right. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't use MT4. You got to use parallels. Well, I mean, I have parallels, but you got to use parallels. I don't worry about it. All right. So on a daily, we are showing a potential distribution going on. Come over to the H4, and I know my chart's got a lot of nastiness on it, so we'll just go with it. Essentially, this is our leg, right? This is what we're dealing with. So we made a new H4 high. We came back into our pullback, and then we expanded here. So this is our leg. This is what's maintaining H4 bullish structure and daily structure at this point. Alrighty. So, whether we come down into this H4 candle or we respond just like we've been doing now, I am looking for buys, right? I'm not looking at trying to sell this at all. Okay. For the ST, how far above the top do you want it to go? There's no rule as to how far it has to go. What the ST is, it's a secondary test. So you have to ask yourself, what's it doing? It's testing demand or it's testing supply. Right. So if, depending on where it trades into and how it reacts is what you care about. All right. One of the things you don't want to do, and I'll caution everybody about real quick, when you're drawing schematics out, right? When you're drawing a schematic, it's not as easy as coming here and putting labels on it, right? It's not as easy as just doing this, right? Because if that's the case, then everybody can do that, right? It's understanding, well, what happened in the buying climax, right? How did the buying climax create that automatic rally or the automatic reaction, depending on what you are in? Did that define our trading range? And then where's the secondary test, right? Like, this is not a secondary test, right? This is not a secondary test. It doesn't test any supply, right? It doesn't test any supply. This is your secondary test. All right. This in here is your secondary test. All right. This is your upthrust. An upthrust has to trade above the buying climax. It has to. Otherwise, it's not an upthrust. It's just a thrust, or it's just another secondary test. Okay. Because that's ultimately an upthrust is a secondary test, just a secondary test that ultimately grabs liquidity. Okay. And then your UTAD is just your upthrust after distribution. All right. So, but we'll kind of get into it. I'll be honest, like I'm not on here to really teach a lot. I'm just kind of going over what I'm looking at for everybody that's in our group and stuff. Otherwise we'll be here all day long. Okay. Which you say that is ST is testing. Yeah, the ST is testing the supply or demand, all right, of that area. So on a distribution, it's testing supply, and on the demand side, it's or on the buy side in accumulation, it's testing demand. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Let's jump into it. So otherwise I'll get sidetracked. Like I'm on one of those, having one of those days. Okay, so we talked about the 4 hour, but let's talk about the 1 hour, right? So H1, okay. I ideally want to see if we could trade up above this H1 lower high, which is located right here. Okay. That's what I'd like to see. All right. Now, one of the things that, you really want to start paying attention to is what are we doing as far as, internal structure. So all of this is internal structure, right? But if you see, we are respecting the lows, right? We are respecting the lows while making higher highs. All right. So internal structure is bullish. However, on the H1, we are still bearish. All right. Until we take out this high right here. All right. Ideally, what I'd like to see on CADJ is this. I would really, really like to see us trade above this high to make a new higher high. All right. And when we do that, then I would be interested in playing off of this candle right here. Okay. When you look at it from a leg perspective, okay, you know, we had our low in here with an ugly accumulation. We created our high, right? So this was our leg. We came into this pullback. We expanded to make a new high, retraced, and then made a new high. All right. So now at this point, this is potentially, right? Not yet. This is potentially the higher low, all right, of the internal structure. All right. Potentially. And I say potentially because it's not technically a higher low until we make a new high, right? You always work backwards. When you're talking about structure, you got to work backwards. So this does not become the higher low until we get a higher high up here. All right. So that's honestly what I'm waiting on. I would really like to there we go. I would really like to see it happen. You know, it'll go a long ways as far as structure goes for us to get into that. All right. What I'm personally looking at is this 15-minute candle right here. All right. And ideally we did have, again, just a really all the yen crosses kind of did just have. All right, I got to delete this. Hold on. All righty, enough. There we go. Delete you. All the yen crosses did have a kind of really ugly accumulation today, but this is your accumulation right here. All right. You did have a selling climax into a secondary test, right, which defined your trading range. I'm sorry, your AR into your secondary test. All right. Secondary test gave the reaction. This did trade way above the trading range, but it still is an up thrust action into another secondary test. Okay. From there, we created a spring, right? And by default, that spring made this your secondary test in phase B. All right. Because when you get into phase C and leave, that's what confirms this as your secondary test in B. All right. We exited the trading range, broke structure. We did make a new high. So this is what's maintaining bullishness right now on this structure. All right. Again, I'm looking at this candle right here for an entry and, obviously to take it up. We'll see how high we can go with it. All righty. Yep. Order flow is nice. And I tell you what, I do. CJ is one of my favorite pairs. EuroCAD, not so much. CJ, one of my favorite pairs. All right. What I'm seeing is the best time to entry. The best time to enter is the test, right? The test when, ideally when price breaks structure. So in this case, when price did this and broke this structure, the best time to enter would have been right here off our test, which is what I'm wanting to get down to. All right. If you're talking about like time wise, like actual physical time, I mean, I'm a New York session trader. Those days of me getting up during London session are over. Those days of me. Yeah, there you go, Victor. Yeah, exactly. Crossover. So I get up at 5 a.m. Eastern time because that is the perfect time for entries. Between 5 a.m. and I would say like New York Open are normally when I'm already in a trade. Okay. All right. So that's ideally what I'm looking at on CADJ. All right. I want to see us trade back into here. We did give a really nice reaction off of this area right here. This was the leg that broke this high, right? So we respected it. And, one of the things that I've definitely learned in the last couple of months is the market doesn't give two hoots about equal lows. All right. It doesn't. If it doesn't need to grab liquidity, it's not going to, right? If it's got enough ticks to get all their orders filled, they don't need to drop any lower. All right. That's all they care about. They don't care about actually taking money from people. They just care about getting their orders filled. All right. So, ideally I was looking for an entry off this 3-minute in here on the break of these equal lows. But that definitely became negated when we made a new high, right? Because at that point, now this becomes the higher low that is maintaining bullishness, and we're just going to continue riding this up. All right. So that's ultimately what I got. All right. It's pretty easy. I'll send this in the chart or in the chat. You guys, open it up and if you want to take a look at it, but this is ultimately how I'm looking at the market right now. Again, I'm bullish on CADJPY. All right. Yeah, no, I know, bro. I know that 1 minute got tapped, man. And I was so close of just throwing a limit order in off the 3 minute, which would have made it like I think it was like a 1.6 pip stop loss. So, but it is what it is, man. What confirms the ST in phase B? The confirmation that that's going to be an ST in phase B is either you get your spring with the break of structure, or if you're trading in and this is technically your STB, the break of structure and then out of the trading range. So, on the break of structure and exit of the trading range, this will be your STNB. And when it comes back to mitigate, that's your LPS. All right. Same thing for distribution, the UT. All righty. All right. So CADJPY is pretty quick, pretty easy. I do have, hold on. Let me just move my alert a little higher. There we go. What time frames do you like to see in your analysis? So I do a top down. All right. I do all of my trades. I start on the weekly, right? I start on the weekly and just work down. All right. I don't go bottom up. I go top down. Okay. So if I'm looking at a chart, I start from the weekly, work all the way down. Most of my analysis is done on the 4 hour and the 1 hour, because those are the points of interest I'm looking for. All right. To save you some time, like I personally don't waste my time looking at a schematic unless it's in a point of interest. So unless it's in a weekly candle, daily candle, 4 hour candle, 1 hour candle, I'm not going to waste my time with it. All right. Because you'll just go crazy taking 1,000 trades a week off a 1 minute chart. And that's not what I'm trying to do. Okay. The targets on CJ. Yeah. Targets on CJ are my first targets are new H4 high. Okay. So obviously once we trade up, once we trade up into this H1 new high, we can expect a pullback, but this should remain bullish, right? This should remain intact. So if you want to partial out after the creation of a new high, partial out, wait for a re-entry. And then obviously this H4 high is going to be huge. So if we can make a new H4 high, that's going to be my next targets. And then ultimately, if we can get up into the weekly candle, all right. I'll tell you right now, every buy that I'm taking on CJ right now, my goal is to get into this weekly candle right here. All right. And it's about 200 pips. All right. Last time I checked, it was like 200 pips. So from essentially where price, it's about 220 pips from where I want to try to take an entry from. Okay. So this is my goal right here. This is my goal. And then I'll work into a hedge trying to get a sell. So we'll get into it. All right. Yeah, there you go. Awesome. All right. So that is CJ. Okay. Let's talk about my nemesis, EuroCAD, right? EuroCAD. So to be honest, EuroCAD on the daily, for me is a accumulation. Okay. We have come into, we've created the spring, we have broken daily structure, come back into the test. Inside of this test is another 4 hour accumulation schematic. So at this point, if they're trying just to accumulate orders, I'm going to have to be looking for buys. All right. We can come into the 4 hour and you can see exactly what I'm looking at here. So we have made a new H4 high right here. So, weekly bear bullish, daily bullish, H4 bullish. We got to look for buys. Okay. We got to look for buys. So this is my target. And granted, I've been waiting since the middle of December for this thing to finally come back. And we're almost there. We're about 100 and some pips away. And you can see it's just walking itself down, right? This right here is just a complex pullback, which is what I like to see. All right. If you guys want to definitely back test this, but in my notes, in my journals, one of the things I like to see is I like to see a controlled pullback, right? I don't want to see the market, trade up and then fall, right? because there's no control in here, right? No control. What I want to see, the market go up and then the market come down controlled, and then we go up again. All right. I like that control because it shows me that that whatever institutions are actually moving this market in whichever way, they're in unison, right? They're working together. There's an agenda that they want to get taken care of. So I'm waiting personally for ECAD down here in these 2 points of interest. All right. Ideally, the spring right here is our low. Okay. So from a daily 4-hour perspective, right, this is our leg. All right. This is our leg, and this is just the pullback. So this is what's maintaining bullishness. All right. I do not want price, though, to come below our test area. All right. I want that to stay intact. And my first point of interest is this 2-hour candle right here. Okay. This 2-hour candle to me, because this is the 2-hour candle that made this new high. All right. So when price came down, we were just walking price down here. When price came down, ultimately had our first break of structure and then made a new high. This candle was the cause of that new high, right? So this to me is a valid point of interest. You can see I've got my box set here for accumulation. I really want us, just because of the stop loss requirement, it's like 20 pips. I really want us to trade just like we are, compression, come in, build a beautiful picture perfect schematic and take the entry, right? That's what I want to see. So my 2 points of interest are going to be this H2 candle right here. That's the first one. And then my second one is, I think it's the 15. Let me see. Yeah. So my second point of interest is down in here, right? There's a 15-minute candle that I like. I mean, there's a smaller candle down in here as well, but that's why my box is pretty big. I'll take anywhere from like 1.54300 to 1.54500. Anywhere in here, if we can start to build a schematic. And this is the time that I get down on the lower time frames, right? Like I'll stick to the 4-hour, the 1 hour, all the way up until we get down into here. And then that's where I like to see the compression, our first change of character. We get our nice schematic being built. We get a spring, a break of structure. We catch the test right here, and off to the races we go. All right. That's ideally what I like to do. All right. Yep. Yes, absolutely. And you'll learn that everything in Wyckoff theory and smart money are retail concepts. It's just knowing how to trade them. All right. All the accumulations and distributions are just patterns that everyone trades: head and shoulders, double tops, the bullish or bearish flags, right? Ascending, descending wedges. It's just understanding what phase you are. Once you understand the phase you're in, you can almost trade any of those patterns. All right. Yep. And yeah, those teacups are in there too, but you got to understand where you're at in the whole teacup thing. You got to make sure that you're in phase C of the schematic. All right. So, okay. Let's so any questions on EuroCAD? I'll throw it off the 2-hour chart here just so you can see the candle. But like I said, this is coming out of a daily accumulation where inside of phase C we had a 4-hour accumulation. Okay. So ideally these are going to be my 2 points of interest. Now targets, actually here, hold on, let me just screenshot this. Target wise, obviously first targets are going to be to make a new high. All right. Because if we're just walking this up and this is our leg, right, this is where I wanted to take it to. So, 1.5800 would be a nice little area. There are some higher targets I don't want to get to, but, unless you really understand how to manage a trade, taking a 3-4 pip stop loss, 300 pips will get you a nice little payday. All right. So just keep that in mind. There's ECAD. I think that was ECAD. Hold on. If it wasn't, hold on. Yeah. I've been looking at ECAD. Well, yeah, I've been waiting on ECAD for a while. I've been waiting on her. So, it is what it is. I'll wait all day. If it's going to give me a 1 to 100, 1 to 200, I'll wait all day for it. All right. I've got nothing but patience for it. So that's ECAD. AUDJPY, right? AUDJPY. I am still waiting on, this stupid thing. Real quick, we'll just go through it. Everyone, would you look for sells down to counter trend it? No, I'm not counter trending it. unless I'm already in a position on the pro trend, I don't like to counter trend because to me, it's throwing money at it. You know, it's one thing I'll tell you this, like, and you know, it's taken me a while to understand counter trend trading. Um, Especially when you're dealing with a large account, it's okay to throw $5 at a counter trend. It's okay to throw $500 at a counter trend, but are you going to throw 50K at a counter trend move that you may lose? So the way I look at it now is I trade every trade like it's 100K, right? Every position I take, it's like I'm trading 100K, and you know, am I willing to lose it off of a counter trend? So, and the answer for me is no. You know, I'm trying to take less trades this year than I took last year. So that's you know, at the end of the day, that's how I'm looking at it. All right. All right. So weekly perspective, we are still in this distribution potentially. All right. Started back in 2017. Off the daily time frame, we have come out of this descending wedge, and actually we started to distribute here, right? Everyone should see the quintuple lows that are sitting here. All right. Now, if this distribution is to come through fruition, right, our targets need to be the bottom of the trading range. Okay. That's ultimately my goal. That's my overall targets are the bottom of this trading range from current price. I mean, we're talking about 700 pips. All right. 700 pips is what we're talking. But you look on the 4 hour, we are currently in distribution. All right. We are currently in distribution. Notice we are making lower lows. All right. Um, so by default, this is our lower high, right? If we just made a new lower low right here, this is our lower high. This is what's maintaining bearishness. All right. So I have a 1 hour point of interest right here. That's what I'm waiting for. All right. I don't believe that this is where we're going to distribute from. And if I'm wrong and they do sell off without giving me an entry, guess what? This is all I'm going to do. I'm going to wait for that, make a new low, right? New low, and then I'll find something up here to catch the sell on. All right. At the end of the day, if I miss the trade, I will always find another reentry. All right. I don't have to rush it. All right. I don't have to rush it. And, you know, for, you know, one of the things that really I've worked on in the last 6 months was getting in at the right time. All right. Had anyone gotten into this trade right here, congrats, you're in profit now, right? But depending on where you got in, you've been sitting in this trade for 19 hours for 12 pips, right? That's not even a pip an hour. Psychology wise, mentally, you know, mindset wise, that's infuriating. All right. Especially when you're dealing with margin. If your margin is small, right? Like my margin, I only have a 1 to 50 margin. I got to be very selective with some of the currency pairs I take. So you want to definitely keep that in mind. I personally think on the 30-minute, it may look a little better. Maybe the 1 hour. I personally think that we're starting to distribute. We're just not there yet. All right. I haven't drawn it out yet, but you know, potentially this could be our buying climax into our automatic rally, into a secondary test. This defines our trading range, potentially get another movement up for a UT, and then decide if we're going to do a type 1 or type 2, right? For a type 2, we need to break structure and break out of the trading range, take an LPSY entry here, right? To take it down. If we're going to trade it off of a type 4, or I'm sorry, type 2. Well, that was a type 2. Man, I need coffee. A type 1, if we're going to trade it off a type 1, well, we'll just catch the UTAD. UTAD, break structure, take our test entry, and just walk it down, right? Walk it down, LPSY entry, and we'll just ride this puppy down. So at this point, it's just a matter of waiting. All right. I do have an alert sitting right up here. You know, if the UTAD comes into this 1 hour candle in here, great. All right. But for me, this is supply, right? For me, this is a supply point. It's however ugly this distribution was, it never gave an entry because there was no break of structure for me to get into a position. But, you know, ultimately it's there, right? It is there. All right. ST in phase A can be higher than B. Yeah. Yes. Yep. There is no requirement for your secondary test to be above or below. The only thing that you need is it needs to test demand or supply. All right. And how you know it's testing is it makes you could see a very quick movement up and then a quick movement down, right? That is testing supply and demand, right? You don't want it to do this, right? That's not testing anything. Okay. You want it to come up and then immediately come down, because what's happening is there's a buy being done here to come up to see if there's enough interest to sell down. And if there's enough interest, then that's when you get the movement down. All right. Because now sellers are coming into the market here. All right. So that's ultimately what you want to understand, is what is actually going on in that. All right. So EG, pretty simple. I'm just waiting, right? At this point, the only entry I'm going to be taking is if we come up and create a UTAD or a UT. All right. If it's the UT again, I need the break of structure. So this is what's maintaining structure at this point. I would need the drop and then take a mitigation point off of a candle somewhere in here to go down. And if I'm waiting for the UTAD, right, we'd have a UT come up, make a new high. This is structure at this point because we made a new high, right? So wait for the break of structure, mitigate off of whatever candle created the up move, and then boom, we're off to the races. All right. So I know it's trying to predict what's going to happen, but for me, the only two scenarios I have to get into a sell on EG right now are this right here, right? What you saw right here. That's all I have. There's no other way for me to get into this trade. All right. And then, like I said, my first targets are, I think it's like 180 pips. It's going to be these lows right here, right? All of these lows sitting down here. All right. That's going to be my first targets. All right. But we are in valid distribution at this point off the H1 and H4. All right. Okay. Now let's move on over to, what was I looking at next? EJ. So I was looking at EJ, and I'll be honest, like EJ to me was just not very clean. The schematic that it gave, you can see I started drawing it out early this morning, and like, I know a lot of you have heard me say it. If it ain't clean, just change your damn screen. Like, this is not what I want to do. Like, I don't want to be anywhere near this. I mean, it did give a valid spring. We can label that the ST, we can label this the STB, right? The reason we know it's the STB is because we caught our spring right here. All right. And essentially, because we caught this spring, all right, we just don't have a break of structure. That's the problem. All right. When we're looking at structure, so this was our low, this was our high, right? This is our low now. So this is what's maintaining structure. So we're still bearish, So for me, this is a whole lot of nothing, yeah. Like, if I mean, ideally, I'd like to see buys on EJ, but I'll just wait. I'm sure London session and we'll make something of it. Again, I still was looking for price to come down into this area here. All right. At the end of the day, when you're looking at structure, okay, when we're looking at structure, and let me tell you, like, EJ has been great to me for the past, I don't know, all of December. I've just been trading the crap out of this thing, and it's been fantastic. All right. When we look at structure from our points, just look at your leg points. Okay. So this was ultimately our shakeout that broke structure. So this became our high. All right. We made a new high. So the previous low, which was right here, is the higher low. All right. So this is what's maintaining bullish structure in this H4 time frame on the H1, all that stuff. Okay. So I do not want to see us trade down into here. Right. This accumulation that I was looking at before is off the table. The only one that I'm looking at now is in here. Okay. That is it. Nothing else am I looking at as far as an entry, because if we do go below here, at that point, we're going to be bearish, and there's some lower points that we can go to. All right. If you look at it from this perspective too, I got my little money trend line. All right. You can see it. We've got a little one touch, a little two touch. Potentially, we're going to see a three touch in here, right? Potentially. So, you know, we'll see what happens on it. You want to be like Mike? I might be a little too young for that. No, bro. I'm turning 40 years old. I know all about Mike. All right. So let's get into it here. Let's see. All right. So that's, I mean, yeah, EJ is pretty easy. That's what I'm waiting for. I want to see if we trade down into it during London session, maybe New York. Crossover time is ideally when I want to get into the sucker. All right. And it's going to be off of this. Here's a great example of demand, right? So it's going to be off this point of interest, which is in a demand zone. All right. This is a prior accumulation. This is a area that needs mitigation right in this 5-minute candle. Yeah. Right in here. This is an area that requires mitigation. So this is a clear demand zone, right? Very nice point of interest. All right. Very nice point of interest that I'm looking at. All right. What's the next one I got on my watch list? EU. I'll be honest with EU. Like, if I was a betting man, I'd say that EU is going higher. You know, I really don't. I'll tell you right now, I don't want to sell EU at all. It looks like, I mean, we did have a distribution here that just never gave us an entry. I did take an entry today off of it, and I ended up closing out of it. It does look like we're potentially building some sort of distribution, but I would tell you right now, just wait for the possible reaccumulation, right? So we definitely do have a potential BC into an AR, into an ST, into an MSAL, right? And then this is just another ST here. So at this point, if we do create a UT, all right, come down, create a UTAD, and bear with me. Let me make this like that. There we go. All right. So if we do create a UTAD, all right, and it walks down, it does something like this. So obviously, and hold on, there we go. So if we have the break of structure, you're going to sell it from here, right, off the test. This is our creek on the break of structure and the jump of the creek. That's the confirmation for reaccumulation. So this is where you're going to take the buy. All right. Watch the line chart on it. 5-minute. Let me see. So what am I looking at? 5-minute. You're just talking about making the lows? Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, it's in distribution, but for me, there hasn't been, you know, we're not even out of phase B yet. You know, for me, this is our buying climax into our AR. This defines our trading range. So this is our ST, our MSAL, just like I labeled it. And then just waiting for a UT. You know, if this pops up here, that's going to be the UT, and then decide on what's going to happen. You know, from here, it needs to break out of the trading range and break structure. So, and then you take a mitigation point to go lower, or you wait for the UTAD. All right. Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I have no faith in the US dollar. Again, actually, yeah, look, it's going to create the UT right now. Yeah. You know, it's doing what it's doing. It is, oh, there you go. There you go. I told you this thing was going to go up. I told you this thing was going to go up. I laugh. Hold on. Yep. Oh boy. Yep. You got to love it. Yeah, something happened with the dollar. I guarantee you. I guarantee you. I would look on my phone, but I don't have a phone. So hold on. Let's just see. What did the dollar index do? Yeah, it's the dollar. The dollar took a tank. Okay, no worries. So yeah, like I was saying, I have no faith in the dollar to distribute. But so much for that. So we do have a break of structure. Yeah, it is what it is. Georgia results? Nah, that comes out tomorrow. Yeah. So I love it. That was awesome. What did EJ do? Did EJ go up? Man, look at that. Yeah. Dollar goes down, euros go up. All right. So the only other thing that I really am looking at that's close, like GJ is not close at all. Um, I want to see GJ come down. GJ for me is reaccumulation. I want to see it come into 2 points of interest. I want to see how we react here. I need a schematic to print here for me to even contemplate taking a buy, but I really want us to come down to this extreme mitigation candle, right? There's a 1 hour candle in here, the leg, right? And the whole basis of that is our legs, right? So if this is leg one that broke structure, this is leg two, all right? So I want to see us trade down. We'll probably do maybe like a little head and shoulders kind of thing and then trade down to it. So I'll just be waiting for this. This is something that maybe looks, like next week or something. Um, but that's GJ. GU is the same thing. If you know about the correlations between GU and GJ, GU is the same setup, same exact setup. Now the only thing with GU for me is this is still our leg, right? This is still our leg. But I have an area in here because this is what created the break of structure. So that's why my alert is sitting here. All right. Because if we do trade down below 1.3500, I'd be looking to see if we can get a schematic in there. All right. One of the things, if you start to pay attention, I'm only looking for schematics in these points of interest. I'm not looking anywhere else. All right. Do I always enter off Wyckoff structure? No, I don't. I'll go off of smart money as well. Plenty of times I've done it, but I'll be honest. Like I can't catch. What was the, I think US dollar Swiss franc on Monday was like a 1.1 pip stop loss. Like you can't catch that without a schematic. You know, so it is what it is. I trust the schematics because it's just not all about schematics, right? Don't get me wrong, structure is everything, and I can't say that again. Structure is the be all end all of the market, and if you can't understand it, you're setting yourself up for failure. All right. All right. So that's GU. Someone wanted gold, and I'll be honest, like I was looking at a sell on gold, and so real quick, I just give you my synopsis, right? I really am not looking for buys on gold until one of two things happen, right? I really wanted it to come down into this weekly candle, all right? Because this is the weekly candle that broke this high, right? So when we come over to the daily, right, we're in a complex pullback, right? We're in a complex pullback. This is the lower high. This is what's maintaining bearish internal structure on the daily. So if this gets taken, then I'll be looking for buys. All right. So at this point, I'm not doing anything. If this gets taken, I'll be looking for buys. All right. My higher time frame bias on EJ, it's bullish. It's bullish on the daily and on the 4 hour. I think on the weekly as well. I'll double check it, but without a doubt, bullish on all around. Is there a buying potential in the month of February for gold? You talking about like seasonality? Like I honestly don't trade seasonality. I don't do it. Like I'll just trade what the chart tells me, but yeah, on gold, like this is the do or die area right here. You can definitely see that we're starting to slow down. And if we get down to a smaller time frame, you're going to start to see compression, right? So you can see how price we're not expanding as much as we were. Did you see the 4 hour schematic on EJ? Possibly, maybe, I don't know. Throw your chart in the chat. I'll open it up. Let me see if I have it. I don't know. But we are definitely compressing, right? We are definitely compressing. I was looking at 1956 is an area that I was looking for price to give me some sort of distribution schematic. I mean, this right here, like it did give a little distribution in here, but this is slop. Like I'm not a fan of this. I want to see something clean. For me to get into a sell on gold, I'll be honest, I need to see something clean. All right. I need to see, yeah. Why 1956? Because it's the open of this candle right here, which is the daily candle. Hold on. Where'd it go? There it is. This is why 1956. It's the open of this candle right here. Okay. On the 4 hour, if you come to the 4 hour, this is what's, because remember I talked about it. This is what's maintaining bearish structure. So I want to see if we distribute out of this. All right. Because this is it. This is the last place, right? This is the do or die. All right. What helped you learn schematics so well? Son of a gun. Honestly, a lot of back testing. I can tell you in this past year, I've done over 5,000 charts. All right. So that's, that's, when you see them, like I can see a schematic on a 4 hour chart. I can look what happens in here and I can tell you if it's a schematic or not. Like I've learned what fractal price action is and everything. What are you talking about? This one here? Is this the schematic you're talking about? Whoever asked about EJ? Or are you talking about this one here? Because we got schematics everywhere. I mean, there's this distro as well that I deleted. Let's see. Yeah, no. So this is how I see it. This is how I'm seeing it. Just so I mean, you may be right. I could be wrong, but I see us as we distributed here. We failed to distribute on the break of structure and the jump of the creek. We went into reaccumulation and we made a new high. So this was the distro for me right here. We jumped the creek and broke structure, right? And even if you want to call this the UTAD, right? If you wanted to call that the UTAD, we failed to break structure. And from that, we made a new high. So, I mean, this is the way I see it. I mean, you could be right. But here's the only problem, right? I'll give you this sign of weakness. I'll give you that sign of weakness. But after here, this isn't a sign of weakness because what are you doing? You're respecting all of the lows. So you're actually making highs, right? So this is not a sign of weakness, right? This is a sign of strength. What you're seeing here is strength. All right. So, I mean, yeah, to me, this isn't a distro. The distro was right here, right? Distro was right there on that break of the high, and the confirmation that we failed to make this low. Now, reaccumulation, we're going up. All right, we're going up. Not only that, but if you look at EJ on the daily, right? If you look at on the daily, and here's what people get caught up on, right? They see this imbalance in here and they're like, man, it's got to come down here, right? It's got to come down here. It doesn't, I mean, realistically, what happened? This was our high. We had our pullback and we made a new high, right? We made a new high. So we're bullish on the daily. Price doesn't have to come here. Price can continue to come up here and then later on come back to mitigate, right? It can do that. I'm not going to wait around for it. I'll trade how I see it. But when you look at how structure is being built here, we are just walking up into this weekly candle. Okay. Okay. So after the UTAD, price should break structure to the downside to be valid. Yeah. That's your true. After the UTAD, the break of structure is your true confirmation that you're in distribution. All right. Time frame you go down to when you're looking for a schematic. I go down all the way to the 1 minute. I'll even take a schematic off a seconds time frame. I can, you can look at a 1 minute time frame and actually see the seconds schematic off the fractal price action and take an entry off that if you want, but 1 minute's where I go to. All right. But that's pretty much it. Like US dollar crosses, I really wanted to sell the crap out of USHEF, and UCAD, but it just didn't come back. It just didn't come back. It didn't come high enough. I do have a pending order on NZDCAD. I'll tell you this. So I am looking at NZDCAD. All right. Let's see. So we're bullish as crap on this. All right. I mean, you don't get any more bullish on a pair than this. We are just making higher highs and higher lows. All right. So weekly, we're bullish. If you're looking at it from a daily perspective, we are in accumulation on the daily. I do want to take it up to at least the top of the trading range, which, just looking at it from here, this is almost 400 pips. All right. 4 hour time frame. 4-hour time frame, we're just chopping up, walking up these stairs, right? So if we're going to walk up the stairs, you know, my next target is to make a new higher high, right? My next target is to make a new higher high. If we make a new higher high, that makes this the new higher low. All right. And we just keep walking it up. All right. Keep walking it up. If we come over to the 1 hour, we'll go to the 15-minute. Come over to the 15-minute, and we did come in to a point of interest. We accumulated here. This was a pretty nice entry, right? Type 2 schematic. All right. Again, confirmation that this was the STNB was we broke structure here and we exited our trading range, because trading range is defined by our SC to AR. Exited our trading range, came into a really nice point of interest, right? Tested demand off the LPS entry. And then what happened? We made a new higher high. All right. We made a new higher high. So currently what we're looking at, oh, come on. Currently what we're looking at from like a 15-minute perspective, when you were looking at the legs, right? When we're looking at the legs, this was, right? I've already marked them. That's our first leg. We pulled back and then we expanded. So as long as we don't make a new high, as long as this doesn't go up here, I want this to come down and trade back into my point of interest. I have a 5-minute and a 3-minute candle. I do have a limit order on the 3-minute though. All right. So, you know, if we're going off a structure, this maintains structure right here. This maintains bullishness. All right. So this is the 5-minute candle. If you come over to the 3-minute, you come over to the 3-minute, you'll see the 3-minute candle I'm talking about. This is the 3-minute candle. We have some inefficient price action, some imbalance in there. So I'm willing to take it off of that. You know, it'll be a 5.7 pip stop loss. You know, NCAD on certain brokers. So like my personal broker, I can't trade NCAD. It's like 6 pip spread. But on FTMO, it's like a 0.7 pipette spread. So on FTMO, this is going to be probably my last trade of my, because my profit share is on Friday. So I got to close everything out by Friday. Yeah, so that's what I'm looking on NCAD. All right, I'll send you guys, I'll throw this chart in there, because this to me, like I have a limit order, but I will delete it. I will delete it off of a break of a new high. Okay. And again, my targets are just to make a new H4 high, right? That's going to be my first targets. So that's NCAD. That is NCAD. And then that's pretty much it. That's all I really got. Secondary, like I don't have anything really in my secondary that I want to, that's anything close. When I did the FTMO challenge, 0.25%, and I still do. I do 0.25%. So $250 is all I risk. There, you know, like there's little tricks. Like if you build up a little sizable lead, like I did off one trade, then you can risk 0.5% and get a little done quicker. You know, with your markups and certain drawings or labels, do you leave them visible in the time frames they apply? Yeah, just the time frames. So like you're not going to see a 5-minute schematic on a 4-hour. So I'll thank Victor for that. He gave me an easier way to break that down. So, but that's all I'm looking at. You know what? Hey, you got anything different here? I'm gonna unmute you, bro. Victor, you got anything else you're looking at? Are you there? Hold on. I did. I think I unmuted you, bro.
Can you hear me now?
Hey, there you go, bro. What's up, homie? How you doing?
Hey, I'm good, man. How are you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got anything else or no?
AU was the only other thing, but I just don't think that's going to happen anymore. I can show
AU
it
for,
if you want.
AU for what? Yeah. Here, hold on.
So I had a.
Hold on. You know, you're going to go crazy because where are you at? Hold on. I got to find you. Oh, there you go. You're going to go crazy because it's going to ding every time someone comes in or out, but go ahead. Yeah. Share your screen, bro. What you got?
Here, I'll show you. Hold on a sec. So here we go. Okay. So, okay, this is going to be a. All right, so here's what I was looking at. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I got you, bro.
Okay, I'm right on the 6-day time frame, and I just needed to find a candle. Okay. So don't,
Bro, we're reaching with the 6-day now.
well, I literally go through the days to try and find the simplest chart possible. And then we clearly had a distro right here. And what I saw that us testing that demand right there and
Yeah.
then failing and then breaking structure right there. So I just marked this part out. So this was a point of interest, and I was expecting a reaction. So what I did is I went to a lower time frame, and I essentially from a daily onwards, I started looking to where we could react to, right? And then you could see my, there was here if we go, I'll simplify it. Hold on one sec.
Yeah, I've got those H4s. I don't have any faith in the dollar.
So what I was doing is all I was trying to do is I was trying to catch a reaction for a short pull down. You could see right there, right? And then you could see where the last sort of that here, if we look on a higher time frame, where we had that last point in structure, right?
Yeah.
You could see the sell, and then you could see where we made that new leg, right? So I was looking at that starter candle right there on a 3-day, and then on a daily. Once again, you could see that we did kind of make a leg, and we stalled inside supply, and then we broke out of supply. So I was looking inside this daily candle, and then these two H4s right there, and I had an extreme marked out. Let's see.
Yeah, bro. I just don't think.
Yeah, right there. So anyways, all I was looking at is I was looking for that pullback so I could take a buy.
Right.
And obviously everything was correct. We got the break of structure here. I was even thinking maybe even to sell it down.
Right.
But definitely not now. Definitely not during, these.
Yeah, not this Asian shenanigans. Yeah.
No. So my buys obviously didn't work out, but that was the analysis.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, that was it. That's the only other thing that I had.
Yeah,
I don't
bro.
know if anybody understood this, but anyway.
Well, so I don't know if you looked at NU. NU is in the weekly candle, but again, like I don't want to sell it. It's nothing up. Look, nothing about that weekly price action is telling me to sell.
No, it's just. I mean, there's nothing. Like, look at this.
Yeah.
It's inside of weekly candle. It's just like higher highs and higher lows.
Yep.
Now, the one thing that does make this weekly candle a little bit more enticing is the fact that we did go through a distro to make the lower low.
Yeah.
So, this is essentially what caused this is what caused the BOS right here.
Yeah.
Right. But why in God's name would we want to sell that? This is so like I wanted to pull back.
Yeah.
And then, we get that 4-hour break and a confirmation, then potentially look where my alert was for the buy. Like I wanted, I'm not even, I got nothing for sells.
It's nowhere close, man. Nowhere close.
Yeah. I really got nothing else because I think you went through everything. I got nothing.
That was pretty much it. Like I said, to start the week, it's pretty laid back. I'm not looking at a bunch of pairs this week. I'll tell you what, let me see. Hold on. I'm going to share my screen again, bro.
I go for here. I'll stop share. Hold on.
Yeah, I got it here. So hey, just going over this EU markup. So I'll give you, hold on. Let me pull my chat back up. Darn it. I'll give you a little feedback on this, right? So like, I understand the markup, right? But here's what you have to ask yourself. So you're typically, you're looking for distribution here, right? You're looking for, a reason to sell this market. Can anyone, by looking at what EU price action here, what do you notice is missing from a distribution that is now potentially in phase B going into phase C, right? Because the UT is ultimately the inverse pair of the STNB. Yeah, exactly. Perfect, man. All right. So people do listen to me. Look at that. There's no sign of weakness, right? There's no sign of weakness whatsoever. Now, could this, well, it couldn't be, but could this potentially be a schematic? This could be a type 4, right? This could be a type 4. But still, for this to be a type 4, like I would be labeling this the buying climax, secondary test, up thrust, maybe get a UTAD, but then we still need a breakout of the, break the ice and then come back to mitigate and do something like that. But again, type 4s to me are so risky because there's no sign of weakness. All it is an ascending wedge, right? So yeah, like EU, nothing about EU right now is telling me to sell it, and like what Victor was saying, maybe, maybe like on AU, NU, like if we got that, if we got that 4-hour break of structure and then came back up here and then saw a distribution on smaller time frame, okay. But yeah, like I'm just, to me, I would rather not trade a pair and save my money than try to risk it for, for something that just doesn't line up with my trading plan, you know. Um, if especially in December, I'll tell you what, December was an awesome month. Um, especially those guys, that were catching some of the moves that we were throwing out there. There was 4 or 5 trades that went over 1 to 50, and that's all you needed, those 4 or 5 trades. There's really, you don't need to go crazy with it. My goal, like I said, I already told myself this year, my goal is I want to take no more than 5 trades a week, and I really want to get it down to like 3. So do type 3 and 4 play out a lot less? No, I mean they play out, you know, um, they play out. It's just, I'll tell you right now, a type 1 is where you're really going to be able to crunch your stop loss, right? Because you have a definitive low that needs to be maintained. And typically on the spring, it's easier, right? So why type 1s for me are easier? So smart money, we understand this is liquidity, right? So we come in, create our spring, break structure. So we understand that from this area here, this is the volume of the candle, right? That we want to now mitigate out of. So when price comes back, bam, that's what we want to play off, is the volume of this candle. So we can really get a really good idea of what we're doing. On a type 2, you're kind of just looking for an area. Sometimes there's not a candle. Sometimes you just have to play off of an area where demand is going to get tested. Okay. Um, 4 or 5 trades, one to, yeah, absolutely. Listen, I mean, I can tell you, I used to take 30 trades a week a year ago, and now I might take. Well, I could tell you in quarter 3 of last year, I was taking maybe 10 trades a week, and then I even got it down to that through back testing. Have you found a favorite day to find? Yeah, so Wednesday, Thursdays are my best days. Wednesday, so Sundays suck for me. Like I either break even or I'm in the negative. Mondays are really slow. Tuesdays are pretty slow. Wednesday, Thursdays, um, crossover time. So like that London into New York session for me are my biggest days. All right. Yeah, yeah. Victor said Tuesday, Thursday. Yeah, absolutely. But for me, just off of my journal, like when I look at the days of the week that I'm most profitable, Wednesday, Thursdays blow everything out of the water. All right. Where can I find these definitions that I'm using? So you can here, I'll tell you what. Actually, can somebody, if somebody has it open, Discord, because I don't, just drop the link to the Discord in there, and it's in the free education. But you want to read this book by Ruben Villahermosa, or you can read, and it's a Richard Wyckoff book. Yep, there it is. Thanks, man. Um, or you can read anything by Jesse Livermore. Jesse Livermore did a lot of wrote a lot of books about Richard Wyckoff and about Wyckoff theory. So that's where you can learn all these definitions and terms, and I'll tell you, like, they're not that difficult. It took me, well, I'll tell you, the book by Ruben Villahermosa took me a weekend to read, and I read it twice, and it gave me a really good understanding. All right. Really good understanding of everything. But you got to incorporate everything. Listen, it's just not read the book and now you know how to trade Wyckoff. All right. Um, it's going to be, there's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of, back testing. There's a lot of, interaction. There's a lot of collaborating with other traders. One of the best things about the Discord is, people throw a lot of charts in there and you get feedback from it. All right. Ruben Villahermosa. So here, I'll tell you right now, hold on. Ruben Villahermosa, and the book is called Wyckoff Methodologies. Oh, Methodologies. Oh, I spelled it wrong, but you got the point. Hold on. Methodologies. There you go. Yeah, yeah. There you go. Perfect. Yeah. And if here, I'll tell you what, I'll throw my YouTube channel thing. Hold on. So I post a lot of videos on there, may give you some guidance.
Hey,
Uh
Mike,
yeah, go
Mike,
ahead,
can
bro.
I add? Can I
Yeah, yeah.
just add one thing? Everybody's really focused on Wyckoff, like super focused. And one thing you guys, I know Mike talks about this all the time, guys. It's not Wyckoff, it's structure.
Yep.
Um, Number one, 80% of your trades should be traded, not be counter trade trading. Like the person that posted the EU chart, that is a counter trend trade. You don't want to trade those. You'd rather be catching the pullback for the buy than trying to catch the sell. There's buyers in EU are currently holding the market hostage. You don't want to be trading against those guys. Focus on structure first, figure out how to read structure and get really good at it, and then get into Wyckoff. A lot of the guys that I see in the chat, they try to do Wyckoff having no clue how to read structure. You guys are going to get crushed.
Yeah. Not only that, but I'll be honest, like you're going to can you write the name of the Wyckoff book you taught? Yeah, yeah, I just did. Here, hold on. I'll tell you what. Look. It is if you go on Amazon, depending on what country you're at, whatever. But just type in Wyckoff methodology, and it's this book right here. Yeah, it's right here. This book right here. Wyckoff Methodology in Depth by Ruben Villahermosa. All right. Um, real easy book to read. And if you go into the Discord group and under free education, Sam threw the PDF version in the book. All right. So, I printed out the book. I printed out portions of it. I highlighted it, wrote notes on it, and I have it in a binder that I frequently refer back to if I need it. In my early days of trading, Wyckoff theory, I always had it open when I was marking up charts. Now I'm not so much because now I kind of have a handle on what everything's going on. All right. But structure as in the highs and lows, structures. Okay. So here, and Victor really, I'll tell you what, Victor's a better structure person than me, but the way you want to look at structure is the legs, right? When we create, just like I have it circled here, right? So this leg broke structure. Okay. We came back and had our pullback and then made another impulse, right? This is not the high right here. This is not the high and this is not a low. This is our impulse, right? This is our leg. This now would become our higher low when we make a new high. All right. A lot of people get really, like a lot of people struggle with structure. All right. You really have to understand, you have to understand structure, from not only from a lower time frame, right? Because, when I'll be honest, like most of my entries come off of the 1 minute, the 2 minute, the 3 minute, but the analysis is done on the higher time frame, right? You have to understand what is truly going on. As far as the legs go, understand what leg you're in. Are you, here, a perfect example, let's go to CADJPY, right? If we go to CADJPY, and just to give you an example, if you go to CADJPY and we go to like the daily time frame, all right, so daily time frame, right, we're bearish because this was our high. We came down, made this impulsive leg. On the break of this low, this now becomes our high right here. Okay. This becomes our high because that is the ultimate. Actually, it might even be this. Yeah, it is this right here. Look at that. This is our high, this wick right here. All right. So I labeled that wrong. But you have to understand that you can't have a lower high or a higher low without the correlating thing in front of it. All right. You can't say when price is going like this, you can't make this the higher low and the higher high. You can't make that the higher low until you make a new higher high, right? You always work backwards, right? You always work backwards. All right. How do you know when a schematic is required for entry at a point of entry, a point of interest? So for me, if it's got to move a big distance, right? So if I need price to come back 150 pips, I want a schematic, right? I want a reason that the institutions need to test demand or supply in that area and mitigate in and out of orders to get interest to take it to another direction. All right. The biggest thing you want to really start to focus in on is, why are institutions creating a schematic, right? Why is there a schematic there? Why is price needing to test supply or demand, right? It's not because, oh, we have to draw these patterns, or we have to, respects support and resistance. No, what they're attempting to do is, like in the case of EURJPY, right? At this point here, because we're building structure higher, right? They want to take this market higher. They can't just take the market higher. They need to lobby interest. They need to get more people or orders to back them to take this higher. So that's why we're getting that schematic. It's testing that area. All right. How did you learn reading structure? Yeah, like Victor said, man, back testing a lot.
Yeah, like you guys need to understand that between Mike and I combined, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but let's just look at the last year. If we were to combine the hours that we put in,
Whoa, man.
I would probably say somewhere between 60 and 70 hours a week for an entire year.
Yeah.
Okay. When you guys put that time in, journal, mark up, jump on calls, educate other people, which Mike has been, obviously, this is something that I think has been tremendous to your progress. Teach other people on how to do this. Find a trading partner, continue making mistakes, journal those mistakes, not get emotionally carried away. Do that for 12 or 18 months, then come back and ask the questions that you guys are asking, because everything you guys are asking right now is just, for lack of a better word, lazy. Nobody puts in the work. And then you're like, well, where did you learn? How did you learn? You look at charts and you just sit there until your eyes bleed out.
Yep.
Sorry if I'm being blunt, but that's what it is.
Long hours. I'll tell you right now, like, me and Victor will pick a pair. We'll pick EuroCAD, and we will go back and we'll spend all of December, like the entire month of December's price action. And we will find every entry that we could have caught, and we'll do it in replay mode, literally go in replay mode and you play it out. You're like, all right, what are we in? Bullish or bearish conditions? What's the order flow? What do we need to get into an entry? If we're looking for buys, what do we need to see? And if we don't see it, guess what? We don't take the entry. And if we miss the entry, all right, what's our re-entry? Where can we get back in? What do we need to see? That's how you're going to become a really good trader. That's how you're really going to determine, what's, the profitability, your profit margin, that's where your equity curve is going to really start to skyrocket, and then you're also really going to start to limit your mistakes. All right. I could tell you this, I'm not the greatest structure person in the world. I mean, I think I seem, I would consider myself really good at structure, but I would say that 90 to 95% of my losses come because I misread structure. Right. And it's because I'm rushing it, right? It's because I jump into, I jump into a chart, I'm analyzing it, and I might have missed something, and I didn't look at it a second, third, fourth time before really, deciding on what I was going to do. Boom, I get stop loss hit. When I do my recap, because I recap every trade. All right. I spend more time journaling and recapping my entries and my exits and my trading management than I do actually trading. All right.
And Mike, here's a question. How many trades do you journal that you don't actually take?
Oh, that's true. That's true. Every, oh geez, let me delete this. So everything I mark up. So like all of these in my primary watch list, right? Even if I don't take a trade, because my trading plan only allows me to take 3 trades at a time. Even if I don't take that trade, guess what? I still journal it. I still mark it. It just doesn't show up as a profit, right? It'll still be journaled. It'll still be marked up. It still goes into my box. It still goes into my book. All right. I have, like I said, I have 3 4-inch binders that are full of charts, broken down by currency pair or asset. All right. That's the goal. I mean, that's what you want to do, and at the end of the day, journaling forces you to take less trades because it's less journaling that you have to do, so.
And just as a suggestion to everybody who is struggling, you guys, when you set your targets, don't set your targets for profits or percentages. Set your targets for how many trades you've journaled, not trades you've taken. but journal. Like for me personally, I must journal at least one a day. I usually journal more. But for me, if I don't journal one trade in a day, full journal, all explanations, I did not hit my target. And that's where I found the most progress and improvement.
Yeah, I just to give you guys here, I'll tell you right now, just to give you guys a glimpse of something here. Let me go to my desktop real quick. So I have, this is labeled as JPY, right? JPY, December 2020. All right. So I have a total of 65 screenshots on JPY, 65 screenshots, and I only took 3 trades. And I have 65 charts breaking down my 3 entries. All right. And then, obviously like these, I still haven't put into a PDF. They're in my book, but I have to PDF them and then I have to catalog them into my actual digital journal. All right. But that just gives you a glimpse. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into it. It's just not buy and sell. But at the end of the day, I can tell you that, it's definitely rewarding, right? You're not, like I don't want to play down or discredit any other traders. But there's no, for me, right? There's no greater accomplishment than when I risk a 1/4% on a trade and I walk away with 100% profit off of it, right? That's what it comes down to. When I can, when I can see a trade on a 1.5 pip stop loss go 300 pips, that's what, makes me happy. That's what, all the hard work at the end of the day comes into that. All right. So real quick on the question on break a structure on the 5-minute schematic. Wait, we have, let's see. So we have a BOS on the 5-minute, but schematic is 15. Does that count as a BOS? No. No, if the schematic's on the 15, the 5-minute doesn't mean anything to me, you know? And, at the end of the day, if just to give you an idea, right? If this is an accumulation, right? All right. If that's an accumulation and this is your STB and this is your spring, right? No matter what time frame you're in, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, this is what needs to get broken, right? Because this is your low, this is your high, you made a new low, right? On this low, this created this as the lower high. So you need this to get broken as a break of structure. Doesn't matter if that's the 5-minute or the 15. All right. It's understanding structure. Like all this little stuff, like a lot of people, I'll tell you where a lot of people have some mistakes that they get into. Let me just, I'll just do it like this, right? So off of this area right here, like there's some people that would have thought that price breaking that is a break of structure, right? And it's not, right? It's not, because this is the low. When we make a new low, you have to go back to see the previous high. That makes this the lower high. All right. Like all this little things in here are not structure. All right. They're nothing. All right. Exactly. Structure is king, man. Structure is the be all end all. All right. For a time, I had the word structure in a picture frame on my desk. All right. Because, you know, that was probably my biggest downfall early on in trading, was not truly understanding structure. And, a lot of people, and listen, for people that are having trouble with it, it's not your fault, because a lot of people that teach it improperly. All right. So, it is what it is. Where can you find the recording? So I posted in my YouTube channel in this chat somewhere above. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, right here. Hold on. Here, I'll post it one more time. I just posted on my YouTube. Just subscribe to it. You'll get all the things on it. Any more seats on your bus? Man, listen, it is, when journaling, what questions do you ask yourself? So I'll tell you right now, like the biggest thing for me is, I asked the main 3 questions. What's my entry? What's my risk? Where's my take profit area, right? That's the first thing I want to know. And then I have to always understand, why am I getting into this trade, right? And then I have to justify it, so there has to be an agenda. You know, okay, we have a break of structure. This candle needs mitigation. This is the candle that created the break of structure. This is, you know, all of those things go into understanding what my analysis was on the trade. All right. So
Mike,
yeah, go ahead, man.
can I do a quick, like super quick breakdown on CJ?
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Because
Go ahead. Yeah, you got it, man. You got it.
yeah, so I'll show you guys what journaling is, and this is how Mike and I do it. Obviously, we're not identical, but I just want to show you guys something. Okay, look. And I just know CJ inside out. Like I can probably replay it in my head, candle by candle, on a 30-minute time frame.
And you know what? Hey, Victor, that's an awesome point. I'll tell you guys right now, there's some pairs that I don't even have to look at my chart. You can ask me, hey, what do you think about this? And I'll immediately tell you a breakdown, higher time frame down, what the structure is. I can tell you the exact candle I'm waiting for price to come down to. And that's just simply based off of what I've been, you know, like the journaling and the amount of attention I've given that pair.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So it's a lot. Like when Mike, what's your average journal? I mean, how long does it take for you to do a journal? Like sometimes I'll start a conversation with you in the morning, and then 4 hours later, you're still doing the same journal.
Yeah. It depends on how many trades, you know, or how many entries, you know, but yeah, it's up there. I definitely take some time on it.
Because sometimes you journal, then you come back, and then you see something else.
Yeah.
And you go into replay, and you replay the entire sequence, and then you're like, oh my God, there are trades Mike takes that I don't take. And then I go back, if he has a winning trade that I didn't take, do you know what I do? I go back and replay his trade, candle by candle, to try and understand exactly what happened, or go back and analyze the entire move. So anyways, let's just jump through CJ, but it's just so you guys understand how well CJ has been thought through. Okay, this is an all-time weekly time frame. We have a high and we have a low. For all we can see is this was the previous low that made this high, and then we got broken. So we're bearish. CJ had a pullback, right, inside this bearish leg, to then complete the pullback, create a distribution, two of them, okay, and start its move down. Now, what we can see is that CJ, for all intents and purposes, is bearish. Why is it bearish? Because it made a lower low, it had a pullback, and it's starting to break down lower. So we are bearish on CJ. Not only that, but it made a high, a low, a lower high, and then it had to break a structure right here to make a lower low. Next point in the structure we're trying to break is here. Okay, now let's have a look at how CJ has been acting inside this last leg. What has CJ been doing? High, low, high, low. Every time we get a pullback, after we break structure to the downside, we expect a pullback, right? Break structure to the downside, we expect a pullback. So now when we're looking to buy CJ, why is it this weekly candle? Because all we're doing is we're expecting a pullback to then do what? To break the next leg down, to break this structure and the leg structure. Now, weekly, daily time frame, we know that we are trading a pullback in here, right? What do we see on the daily? I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Sorry, I'm on my laptop, guys. I'm on my bed on my laptop. I'm not in front of my computer, so just bear with me here. Let me just get rid of this. Okay, so what do we see on CJ? Here is where we made a lower low. You guys remember we had a lower high that caused a lower low. What do we see first of all? We see this lower low accumulate, and we have an internal break. Now we are starting to create bullish momentum. When we create bullish momentum, we expect a pullback to make the next leg up, because what do we know? We know we're trading a complex pullback to make the next leg down. So weekly, we're bearish, trading a bullish complex pullback for a big sell down. Okay, and this is literally how my journal would be recorded. Okay, so what do I know? We made a high, we made a higher low, we didn't go lower than this point, which means bearish momentum has now shifted to bullish, higher high. Now I'm expecting for price to come into this area here, for us to come and make a higher high again. What do? We pull back, We observe price action as the price pulls back. We get these big candles, and then we start to accumulate. Spring, break a structure. What do I know now? Once again, momentum has shifted to the upside. So now I'm looking, we swept lows, so I am looking for buys from this area. I'm not expecting price to come down here anymore. What do we have? Accumulation 1, right? That's buy momentum. Break a structure, buy momentum. Accumulation 2, buy momentum. How do we come into this accumulation, reaccumulation, spring right into our point of interest, buy momentum again? First buy fails, we are still inside our point of interest. We haven't broken structure. We start looking for buys again. As long as we are in here, we're continuing to look for buys. Boom, we made a low, a lower high, a lower low, broke structure. What do? We look for our buys again, and we continue doing this until we get into this point, right? So look at this: accumulation, break a structure, reaccumulation, bullish momentum, and reaccumulation, spring, shakeout, break a structure. Why are we looking for the buys? Because once again, we broke structure and we are expecting price to continue going up. So accumulation, bullish momentum, accumulation, reaccumulation, break a structure, bullish momentum, coming into another reaccumulation right here. And this is how you journal it. Now, every time price comes into a point of interest, what do? You jump on the 15-minute, 1 hour, 15-minute, 5-minute, 1 minute, because fractal means markets are fractal. For a 5-minute break a structure, you need to have a 1-minute break first. For a 1 hour break, you need a 1 minute, a 5 minute, a 15-minute. For a 4 hour, you need a 1 hour. For a daily, you need a 4 hour, and so on and so on and so on. So this is where we can catch, because most people are looking at this. Like let's say we're looking at this piece of price action. Most people are just seeing this as a break structure. Oh, let's sell down. Well, okay, fine. Let's try to sell down, but it doesn't make any sense, because in order for us to become sellers, we need bullish momentum to come into the market. Most people are only focused on these, like, what, 20 candles right here, versus seeing the big picture. My journal personally keeps my mind sharp on seeing the big picture, because every single time a trade or a mistrade or anything happens inside this chart, I rewrite the entire journal from the weekly to the daily to the 4 hour to the 1 hour all over again. And I keep doing it and doing it and doing it until this entire sequence becomes imprinted in my mind. I don't know if this is helping anybody. I hope it is. But Mike, if you have anything to add to it, then by all means. But that's it. That's what I got.
Yeah, no, man, it's right on the money. I mean, I could tell you here. I'll show you this. I'll give me a second here. I will give you, where's PDF? Here, I just got a desktop. So just to give you guys an idea, like this is my journal, right? This is my journal. So like my CADJPY journal starts off the weekly, right? There was 32 slides in this. Talks about on the daily time frame, I'm speculating that price will trade into premium prices, into the weekly candle. In this complex pullback, you can see my fib is on there. We're up in like the 71 range. We did have a break of structure. This break of structure is now an area that I want to start looking for buys. Obviously in this demand zone, so I'm walking through the time of day. This 4 hour demand zone was the key area that I wanted to see us do something, waiting for accumulation in that lower time frame. From here, boom, we got a 15-minute accumulation, right? Off this 15-minute accumulation, I needed price to break above here for a break of structure. But inside of that, I have a 1-minute accumulation, so okay, I'll go off the type 2. What do I need? I need the break outside of the trading range. We got the break of structure, all right, so now I'm going to play off the 1-minute extreme, so I'm walking through all of the slides, and inside of that, I have another schematic, right? Inside of that, I have another schematic. So I just keep writing off how I'm playing it, right? This is how my journal plays out. Price creates another schematic on lower time frame. So I write my notes in there, what I'm looking at, all through the entries, taken all the way up, where am I looking? Risk to reward based off a new H4 high. This risk to reward is a 1 to 117, and just keep walking it up, keep walking it up. When we come in here, schematic built inside of my first H1 POI, at first appears price did not create a spring and left equal lows, right? You can see the equal lows. Then I show a line chart, right? Show the line chart, the break of structure. However, it was based off a candle with the most volume. So the 3-minute candle for me is what I should have played off of. You can see price comes in to test that 3-minute candle, 50% of it before taking off. So ultimately, like all of these, just walking it up, all the moves, how we're holding it, where we're taking it to, and then at the end, my little synopsis, right? So that's ultimately how I do it. I mean, I'll be honest, like you don't make your money on the trades, you make your money on the journal. All right. Because the journal is what's going, anyone can get lucky, hit buy, and boom, you make a couple grand. Right. But when you really truly understand what the market did and you can repeat it, right? If you can understand what it did and then repeat it, and be consistently repeating that, that's where you're really going to start to find a lot of consistency and a lot of profit. All right. To basically enter on a break of structure. Yeah. I that's the only time I enter is on a break of structure. I will never. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how to answer that. The only way for me to take an entry is off a break of structure. A break of structure, or it's a previous break of structure and it's just a mitigation point. Complex pullbacks and internal breaks of structure. So easiest way to describe that, man, a complex pullback is this. All right. If well, perfect example. Let's just go to what were we in? Let's just go to gold. Right. Let's go to gold on the daily. Okay. So we are mad, right? Mad bullish on gold. Okay. But do you see how price is building internal structure? We're bearish. Come on, annotate. There we go. So we are making a low, a high, a low, a high, a low. And if this now comes down and makes a new low, this will classify that as a lower high. So this is internal structure on the daily, because the weekly we're mad bullish, right? This is internal structure. And this is a complex pullback, right? We are just think of walking yourself down, walking yourself up, right? A lot of people, and the thing that makes it complex, right, is you got to think about it. A lot of people would be looking at this as, okay, we're bearish, right? Gold is bearish because look, we made one lower low, we made a lower high, we made a lower low, so we're bearish. But you have to look at the bigger picture, right? You have to see what is actually going on. All right. For me,
Also look at the time it takes to pull back versus the time it takes to move up.
Oh yeah. Well, here look at take a look at CADJPY. Let's just look at CADJPY real quick, right?
Exactly.
Look at this beauty, right? So every time CADJPY decides that it wants to pull back, come on, hold on. Look at the pullbacks on CADJPY, right? Every time she pulls back, pull back, and we expand. Pull back, expand. Pull back, expand. So what do you think I'm waiting for right here? Boom. So you have to ask yourself, now we're talking about a weekly time frame, so this is really high time frame. But if the expansionary move is an impulse and then you get the complex pullback, what do you want to do? Do you want to buy with the trend, or do you want to sell counter trend? Counter trend, you're going to drive yourself crazy. Where on the pro trend, that's the ones that you're going to catch in a session. You're going to catch the 1 to 100s, right? You might catch a 1 to 20, 1 to 30 on the pullback, but these right here, this is where the big money's made, right? This is where the less stress is made on. And I'll give it to Victor, man, because I don't know how many times I used to counter trend and he would be like, nope, I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it. And I mean, I still do a little bit of counter trending, right? I still do. But it's only to protect the position off of a hedge. All right. I mean, that's pretty much it. That's all I got for tonight, man. I'm beat. I'll be honest. Like I've been on the computer all day. Early 2020, you taking a bunch of counter trades. Yes. Yeah, I did. I did take a lot of counter trades.
We're naturally inclined. I don't know what it is, but I think everybody goes through this in trading. I've gone through it. Mike, you have.
Well, you want to call it tops and bottoms. That's what it is.
Yeah, you think that it's just gonna magically strap on a booster and just freaking fly in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
You always have to think of where the majority of the orders are.
Yep.
If you're counter trend trading, you're fighting against, like, you're trying to break through a wall.
Yeah. And just remember this, right? If there's anything you could take out of it, you want to take the path of least resistance. All right. And the path of least resistance is, going with the trend. That's it. That's the easiest thing I could tell you. Path of least resistance is always going with the trend. So yeah. But other than that, man, I'm gonna call it a night. It's been a long day for me, I ain't gonna lie. It's one of those I'm exhausted. If anyone I think I got all the questions, I didn't want to leave anyone hanging, but yeah, I think I'm done. Any last minute questions, throw it in now and I'll try to get them. Awesome. Thank you, man. Thank you. Okay, awesome. Yeah, and like I said, for everyone that's new, do yourself a favor. You got to really put in the work. I would really start to just understand structure first, before you start jumping on a 1 minute time frame, right? Everyone really likes those 1 minute, 5 minute time frames, but understand structure, see what's going on the higher time frame first, and then from there, you can really get a handle on what's going on. All right. So while we wait for a pullback on EU, I'll tell you right now, if just looking at EU, hey, look, just looking at EU, like I said, I think it's going to reaccumulate. So at this point from here, if this is the spring, we need a break of structure, right? So you need price to break above here. You need this, and then you can maybe play off of something in here to go higher. But I don't trade at 8:45 p.m. Eastern time. It's the Asian sensation time. And like you can back test it. You can be 30 pips in profit and London will come and take out that Asian low or Asian high and you're done. So I just wait for London crossover. All right. Which time frame is the easiest to trade? Bro, I think the weekly is the easiest. The weekly, if you can wait that long, I think the weekly, because it's the biggest picture, it's the cleanest moves, but there's no, I'll be honest, like there's no way I'm trading a weekly time frame. So
just to say to that question, that's actually a great question too, because guys, try to, when you're going through charts, and this is something Mike and I do more often now that we didn't do before, because before we would just try to see through the noise, versus now try to find the chart with the cleanest candle pattern.
Yep.
Right. And we don't, like, the way, we're not very good at, I guess, explaining, or not very good, like Mike, you're great, but visually through practice and journaling, you're a lot better. Like, a lot of the trades you can't fully explain, but because you've seen it so many times, you already know that you need to take it. And then people are like, oh, how did you take it? What point of interest? You can't fully explain it, but it's just an organic flow that becomes second nature. And then all of a sudden, the chart just kind of at moments comes alive.
Here's a great example. Here's a great example of that. So I just happened to be cycling through my secondary watch list, and I took an entry on AUDJPY right here. And this is what I took. And I had nothing marked up on it. It's just so happened that I saw the schematic. I saw the break of structure. I went and just put it off. The entry was off of this 15-minute candle. And as soon as price broke this high, I went to break even. And I ended up closing out right here because it was like 2:00 in the morning when I got up to like use the restroom or something like that. I just closed out. Could this have gone higher? Absolutely. But this is one of those things that I saw, I was eating lunch. I didn't even get to mark it up. Like, there's nothing, AUDJPY I have marked up, but nothing up in here. Right. And that's just an example of, like I was able to just cycle through the chart and I was like, oh man, I see it. I don't, I really didn't have time because price was literally coming down. So I put my position on there. I found out what my lot size was. I entered the trade and boom, I'm done. So, how is important to know the pair you're trading as opposed to just understand. So I mean, Ray, like, I'll be honest, like for me, I know certain pairs are cleaner, right? but if it's a chart, I'm pretty confident I can trade it. You know, like I don't limit myself to just one pair, two pairs, three pairs. Now, Victor, I think, what do you do? Like 13 pairs? That's all you have on your watch list?
I'm
Um,
11.
11. Yeah, yeah. That's all he does. But a lot of that is also geared to spreads, right? So like there's a reason like you don't see Euro NZD on any of my watch lists because my spread is like 6.5 pips on it. So I don't even waste my time, right? You're not going to see you're not going to see like NZD chef on, well, I guess I do have NZD chef. I don't know why I have it. I think someone asked me to look at it. Well, I don't even have anything marked up on it. So but yeah, like there's certain pairs that I just don't trade because of the spread, so I don't even look at them. But for the most part, I don't limit myself. Like when I'm doing my weekly analysis on just going through when I go through all my charts, if something is coming into a weekly daily candle, that's a point of interest for me. I'm going on it. Let's see. Uh, what was your best breakthrough on trading mindset? So I'll tell you the biggest thing that's helped me is I really dove into a lot of Mark Douglas stuff. Primarily his if you go on YouTube and just type in Mark Douglas, you'll see all of the seminar videos that he did, like for companies and stuff like that. And I would listen to him on my walks and my bike rides and stuff like that. That really helped me with the mindset part of it. I could tell you like the rest of it was psychology and mindset came through journaling, because the journaling gave me confidence. The journaling gave me, I can look at the raw data and say, well, damn, I took 10 trades. I lost 5 of them. 3 of them are break evens, so I'm down, if I was risking 1%, I'm down 5%. But the 2 trades I won both went 1 to 50. So I'm up technically 98% on it. So when you physically journal, when you physically write down all the data, when you physically track all your trades and the trades that you don't even take, but you track everything, it gives you the confidence, it gives you the ability to pull the trigger on trades. I don't hesitate on trades. That's one of the things I don't do. I will never hesitate. Like you're never going to see me say, oh, I don't know, if it meets my confirmations, if I have my checklist and boom, 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 checklist is done, I take the trade. And I don't move my stop loss until I get a break of structure. Because I don't know how many times I used to go back, and this is something that journaling taught me. I went back and I'm like, damn, I hit my break even because I moved it too soon. And then the pair went for 400 pips, you know? So I would rather take the loss than the break even, for moving my stop loss too early. I've already risked the capital. I know the risk was involved. So let the trade plan out. All right. That's pretty much it. All righty. Are the majority
And
of your
then
entries limit orders? Yeah. Yeah. For me, they're limit orders. I mean, I could market execute sometimes, but for me, limit orders. All right. The other author was Jesse Livermore. Yeah. Jesse Livermore. So
Mike, can I
yeah,
add one more thing on mindset, if you don't mind?
go ahead, bro. Go.
The other thing is, everybody, if you guys get in front of a chart, stop looking for a trade, because don't feel like, and I think all of us have gone through this, and Mike and I have conversations around this all the time. You hear Mike say this all the time. He's like, I'm trying to take less trades this year than next year, or no, the last year, sorry. And then guess what he's going to say at the end of 2021 going into 2022? He's
Yep.
going to try to take less trades again, right? Less is more. Most people, and I've gone through this, when I get in front of a chart and I don't take a trade that day, I feel like I have lost. Okay, and a lot of people feel this. This isn't true, right? Don't feel like you must force a trade or it's a lost day. Feel like you're going to look for a good setup versus just any setup to close out the day and say that you've taken a trade, because you feel like you haven't done anything if you haven't.
No, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So I agree, you know, and it's one of those things. It's hard to do. It's hard to come and pour in a 4 hour, 5 hour day on the charts and not take a trade. But at the end of the day, listen, it's going to pay off, because you're especially if you trade this type of trading, you know, you only need, realistically, you only need one good trade a week. You might only need one good trade a month. All right. I mean, I know, you know, I know of some traders, man, that, I mean, they're consistently getting 1 to 100s, 1 to 200s, you know? So, you know, you just, you know, you want to take the quality trades, not the quantity, right? Quality over quantity. So, but that, listen, with that being said, I am going to call it a night, man. I'll post this on YouTube, you know, if you guys want to rewatch it. Um, and you know, enjoy. Hopefully you guys got to learn some stuff from it. All right. But other than that, man, I'll see you guys later.
Later, Mike.
Later, bro. Hey, I'll talk to you tomorrow, man.
Yeah, man.